It's amazing how their story kind of expands and gets really dramatic and like, you guys don't want to go there. We can't. They'll swallow us up. We're like little tiny grasshoppers compared to them. They're painting this bad report. Numbers 14, verse 1. That night, all the people of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt or in the desert. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to each other, we should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Let's go back to that land where we were in slavery and bondage and absolutely miserable. That would be better than this. Then Moses and Aaron fell face down in front of the whole Israelite assembly gathered there. Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had explored the land, tore their clothes and said to the entire Israelite assembly, the land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into the land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will swallow them up. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them. But the whole assembly talked about stoning them. Well, the story goes on, and obviously God is upset with the people's response. And he literally tells Moses, he says, turn around and go back in the direction that you came from. If the people would rather die in the wilderness, then that's exactly what will happen to them. He says, not one of them who grumbled against me will enter the promised land. And you know what? They didn't. They wandered for a total of 40 years in the wilderness. 40 years wandering around in the desert, and not one of the people who were part of that group that originally grumbled against the Lord. And guess what? The story goes on. They did enter the land. But none of those people got to experience it. They missed out on the fulfillment of the promise of God because they lost sight of his word and his truth and his promise. They looked at what seemed to be a hopeless situation, and forgot that God was with them. They forgot that God was in control. They forgot that God had a plan, and his plan was the best plan. They placed their faith in the circumstances of what they saw rather than in the promise that God had made to them, that I'm giving you this land. Proverbs 13:12 says this, hope deferred makes the heart sick. What a simple, powerful truth. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. If you lose hope, what have you got? What have you got to keep going? Claire Booth Luce, a writer, says this. She says, there are no hopeless situations. There are only people who have grown hopeless about them. There are no hopeless situations. Only people who have grown hopeless about them. You know, I don't know exactly what all of you are facing today. I don't know the circumstances and the situations that you find yourself in. But I do know that we live in a culture that's happy to tell you every day that there is no God, that there's no hope for your situation, that if you can't get yourself out of it, then you'll never get out of it. I know that the devil is working just as hard today as he was in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve to get you to doubt the promise of God for your life. The question to you today is, what are you going to believe? What are you going to believe? What are you going to put your hope in? The circumstances of this world? The circumstances you find yourself in? Or the God who promises, I am with you. Never will I leave you, and never will I forsake you. Cast all your cares on me. Take a look at this video.
This is the truth. If you turn things upside down, you can't hope for your life to change. I would be lying to you if I said that you have a great future ahead. that you can recover from your past mistakes, that your life could be filled with joy, that your children could be safe and healthy. More than anything, you must know human beings cannot accomplish these things. And I'm convinced of this because I know you. All you are capable of is failure. You have made a complete mess of your life, and I refuse to believe under any circumstances that you can turn things around in the coming years. You may think your life is bad now, but there's more to come. You have only one destiny, and whether you like it or not, this is what is real. I am the Lord your God. You should know I believe exactly the opposite. I am the Lord your God. This is what is real. And whether you like it or not, you have only one destiny. There's more to come. You may think your life is bad now, but you can turn things around in the coming years. I refuse to believe under any circumstances that you have made a complete mess of your life, and all you are capable of is failure. And I'm convinced of this because I know you. Human beings cannot accomplish these things. More than anything, you must know that your children could be safe and healthy, that your life could be filled with joy, that you can recover from your past mistakes. You have a great future ahead. I would be lying to you if I said that you can't hope for your life to change. If you turn things upside down, this is the truth.
I want to tell you today, friends, we have only one hope, and his name is Jesus Christ. The world may tell you that your situation is hopeless, that you're doomed to failure, but I am here to tell you today that God can turn your life upside down and take what was meant for evil and use it for good. Jesus came proclaiming himself as the only hope of the world. And they tried to get him to shut up. They rejected him. They arrested him. They beat him. They killed him. And they put him in the grave. But the grave couldn't hold him. And 3 days later, he rose from the dead, defeating sin, death, and hell forever. And now he's seated with God in heaven as the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. And today, he extends his nail-scarred hands to us that we could find healing and peace and joy and hope and everything else that we're longing for our lives. That's the promise of God for you and for me, and for this world that seems to be hopeless. What are you going to believe? What circumstances tell you? Or are you going to believe in who God is? Let's pray together.